thing. If you've ever used one of those or built your own, or where you just basically are cutting. It's not cutting a wire, but it's like you're cutting a wire and then putting something in between the wire as a device to do something to the electricity that's being sent through the wire to manipulate it, some sort of circuit. Because we all know about circuits. All they are is a wire could. The typical definition is a load and a switch and all this crap, but really a circuit can be just a piece of wire with a charge through it. That's a circuit. Charge, wire, circuit. People get all complicated, and there's all these official definitions, but the point is to not get involved with definitions. We have freaking wasted. We have committees and people who waste hundreds of people's intelligence and time and everything to sit around debating what is the definition of this and that and the other thing. Well, the definition is whatever the hell you want it to be, and what's important is to get a message across. What are you trying to describe? Let's focus on that. Let's not focus on what does this word mean. There's this misconception that, before I get back into my audio video stuff and how to do that, misconception about definitions that or about language in general, that it's more important to focus on, or that there's this universal definition that someone always has to be right about and stuff. No, it's just there's infinite amount of definitions, or indefinite, I guess, amount of definitions. In other words, there's no defining a definition. You can a word is just a sound or a picture, and as in letters, which are pictures, and they can mean whatever the hell you want them to mean. What the purpose is to try to get a message from one person to another, to communicate. And when you're arguing about definitions and who's proper and who's spelling things right or who's using it in a correct grammar sentence, it defeats the purpose of the communication, and suddenly you're communicating about the communication, but you're actually not even doing that. You're communicating about a false conception of communication, because real communication is instant and there's no arguing about it. So again, these are things that people have gone. Someone along the way went way out of their way to make a way of people arguing about stuff and wasting time, and it's just been passed on and spread like, hopefully something that hopefully I don't have. Anyways, people. The other thing, I don't know if this is the right word for this, but anagram. Like these symbols, that there really is like certain symbols. Now obviously when you write on, we talk about dimensions, and not in the sci-fi sense or whatever, but in the sense that, okay, a piece of paper, if you draw in it, that's two-dimensional. It's actually not, because the paper is really thin, right? But if you slice it right down into thinner slices, you discover that, hey, the pencil lead or the ink or whatever actually comes up off it is actually a physical thing and is actually 3D. It just appears to only have two dimensions, like length and width, or width and length. Which, by the way, speaking of definitions, you can actually say width and width. What if you want to call it has two widths? You know what I mean? Or what if you want to say it has two lengths? Yeah. Then you wouldn't be able to differentiate the two or tell them apart. So, whatever. Anyways, sometimes there's reasons for having different definitions and stuff, but if you know what someone means, you can get the idea. That's the important thing. It's, I think that grammar should not be a subject in school as such. If you know basic English, I think that's more important than anything, or a basic language. And now they're coming out with these with all kinds of translators, so it won't matter anyways. Anyways, that thing just totally distracted me. Anagrams, if that is the word, that's what I like to refer to them as. There is symbols, and I was saying if something happens, it's either always happening or it's never happening. Symbols trigger points in your mind. They're burnt on your retina, and they process in your mind, and they affect how your mind works, and ultimately different chemical reactions and stuff. So if you can understand how these symbols interact in general with the human mind, or mind in general, and how that is affected furthermore through your body or however, you can begin to actually literally develop a pictorial system of symbols and things that will affect people however the hell you want. And if you combine them with sounds and other things, for instance, a color colors aren't really all separate. They're actually all the same color on a spectrum um, of white, a white spectrum. Although white itself, what some people don't realize is they call it the light spectrum, and people think of light as white and the absence of light as black. But in fact, white itself is a color on the spectrum. White is a color, and black is a color on the spectrum. It's just, in other words, just like absolute zero, you can't ever have pure white, and you can't ever have pure black. And by the time you get down to it, pure white and pure black are ultimately, if they're the purest, they're the same color, believe it or not. And yes, they are a color. They're the same thing. So this is going all. I just brought you all the way back to our 0 point. But yes, white. If we see what we might call white or black, it's actually, for instance, this bed you might say is black. I don't know if you can pick this up. This bed you might say is black. But it looks more gray on the camera, but it looks black to me. And then you look at this, and this computer is black. And then you look at the mouse, and that's black. But they're all different colors. And the same thing with white. And you can never have a pure white, even though you say pure light and all this. The only point, again with the definitions and stuff, but the only point you can have a pure white or black or color in general is at the 0 point, in which they wouldn't be differentiated or separated into colors, because they're all the same at that point. They're all the same, and yeah. Anyways, back to my stuff.